words were coming out, condemning me. And slowly, fear began to creep upon me. For the first time in all the nights I had been doing this trance writing, fear began to creep upon me. The realization that this invisible companion I was talking to was angry with me, and I could feel that anger coming out against me. I tried to let go of the pen, but I couldn't open my fingers. I couldn't release the biro in my hands. And on and on and on, the angry words came out over and over again, condemning me, hateful words, spiteful words against me. I was literally screaming with my mind at my hand, let go of the pen. And still the pen moved and my hand wouldn't let it go. And then finally, my other hand snatched the notepad and turned over to a clean page. And in giant capital letters, I watched as the words appeared in front of me. Yes, you fool. I am. And I knew in this entire experience, it was the only time I knew what was going to be there before it was there. And my whole world was destroyed in a moment because I thought I'm dead. As the words appeared, yes, you fool. I am the devil. And my hand was underlining that word, devil. And I thought, I'm finished. The fear that washed over me, that seized me, that choked me in that moment was unimaginable. In that one instant, I knew that everything my Christian friend had said was true. Everything I had believed was false. I knew that it was not God that I had been speaking to in these trances, but it was the devil. I understood in that moment that the devil was real, that demons were real, that evil spirits were real, and they were not like you see in the cartoons with the horns and the pitchforks and the spiky tail. I knew that this was an evil, malevolent spirit that wished to kill me, destroy me, tear me to pieces. I knew that I was its prisoner, and I knew in that moment, as I said, everything my Christian friend had told me was true. In that moment, I knew that her Bible was true. I knew that her Christianity was true. I knew that Jesus really was the Son of God. Whatever that meant, I didn't understand the theology, but I knew exactly what my Christian friend had always said. Jesus was the Son of God. He had died on a cross. He had risen from the dead. All of it was true. The God of the Bible was true. But I thought it's too late for me. I knew that hell was real, but I thought I can't escape it now. The devil has me and I'm going to go to that hell in just a moment. And I thought, I'm lost. I'm finished. And I remember as my hand was underlining that word devil, yes, you fool, I am the devil. All the strength in my body fled in an instant. It was the most peculiar feeling, and I've never experienced anything else like it ever since. Every ounce of strength was gone, and I sunk onto my bed, and I couldn't move other than my hand underlining that word devil. I opened my mouth to try and scream, but nothing came out. My throat was choked and no sound came out. Underlining that word still. And then more words came out. I hate you. I tricked you because you're stupid. You're dumb. I hate you. The words were coming out repeatedly. I hate you. Hate, hate. And then suddenly, without warning and without any power in myself to stop it, the hand that was holding the pen suddenly turned around and I found the pen flying at my face. And I stabbed myself in the left cheek with the pen and began to scratch and draw on my face. And I was open-mouthed trying to scream and nothing was coming out as the pen was scratching over my face. And then suddenly back to the page, I hate you, were the words that came out. In the midst of all the fear, in my mind's eye, there was a single image, like a camera flash, that was there and it was gone. It was a crown of thorns, there and gone. And I knew Jesus is the true God. Jesus is the only one who can do anything about this situation. But I thought, I've cursed his name. I've blasphemed him. There's nothing I can do. There's no way I can get out of this situation now. I turned my head and I looked to my right-hand side, and there was my mobile phone next to me. I knew that even though my mother was downstairs, she was an atheist. There was nothing she could do. I knew that the only people on earth who might be able to do anything, and I wasn't entirely convinced that they could, but if there was anyone on earth who could do anything, it was my friend Debbie and her family. And I turned and looked at that phone, and the moment I did, a voice roared at me out of the dark and said, "If you touch that phone, I'll kill you. I'll make your heart explode and you will die on the floor right now." And I could feel as my heart was pounding in my chest, I thought, it's going to tear apart any moment now, any second now. This heartbeat is going to be my last heartbeat. I'm going to die, I thought. I'm going to die and go to hell. Just like in that dream that I saw when I was 15, I'm going to die and go to hell. And I'm going to be in hell forever. And I'm never going to get out. And the devil is going to torment me. And I thought, I'm finished. But as I looked at that phone, and as I reached out my hand to take it, thinking any second now, this is going to be my last moment on earth, I took hold of the phone and I grabbed it and I called Debbie. You see, the thing that I didn't know at that time was that Debbie and her family had been and were already praying for me. Spiritual warfare, the conflict between the forces of good and those of evil, was all around me. In that moment of fear, I thought, I'm finished and there's no hope for me. I didn't know that there were already spiritual forces of good working on my behalf because Debbie and her family were praying for me. I had no knowledge of this. I had no idea that was the case. All I believed, all I knew to be true in that moment was that the devil was real. I was his prisoner, and any moment now he was going to drag me to hell. I didn't know that he was already beaten because of the prayers of my Christian friends. And so I called Debbie on my mobile phone. And when she came on the line and said hello, I couldn't lift the phone to my ear. I raised it in front of my mouth like a walkie-talkie, like a radio. And her voice came over the phone. Hello? And I tried to say something and nothing would come out. I tried to speak and nothing would come out. She said, "Hello, Pete, is that you?" And then after the revelation that I was possessed by the devil, after stabbing and scratching my own face, then the most frightening thing of all, a voice that came out of my mouth that was not my voice. As Debbie said over the phone, "Hello, Pete, is that you? Hello?" A voice came out of my mouth that said, "Hello." She said, "Hello? Hello. Pete, is that you? Hello, Debbie." "Pete," she said, "is that you?" And the voice said, "Pete can't talk to you right now." And she screamed down the phone, "Devil, let him go in the name of Jesus." And when she said that, suddenly my throat opened and I was able to speak. And I screamed down the phone, "Debbie, help me. The devil's got me." She said, "Pray to Jesus. Jesus will help you." She said, "Hold on. We're coming to get you." And that was the end of the phone conversation. In that moment, I prayed to Jesus for the first time in my life. And I prayed and said, "Jesus, please help me." A voice roared in my ears, "Jesus hates you. You've blasphemed him. You've cursed his name. Jesus can't help you. You're mine. You belong to me." But I prayed again, "Oh, Jesus, please, please help me. Please save me." And when I prayed that, suddenly I found strength coming into my body, the ability to throw down the pen that I'd been holding, the strength to get up off the bed. And it was as if it was as if I felt this compelling urgency, run. And I ran out of the room, down the stairs, into the living room, to my mother, who had no idea about any of the things that I was experiencing, who had no idea of the spiritual journey that I had been taking, who had no knowledge of what I'd been doing with the trance writing. And there I was standing in front of her with biro pen and scratch marks all over my face, a look of absolute terror in my eyes. And I said to her, I've got to go. I've got to go. She said, where? I said, I've got to go to Debbie's. I have to go to Debbie's. And I grabbed my mother and I took her into another room. And I tried explaining to her everything that was happening to me. And as I was trying to explain, still wrapped in fear, still sure that at any moment I could drop dead and go to hell, as I was trying to explain what was going on, with one hand, my fist was punching uncontrollably the wall next to me. And the other hand, the finger of the hand, was tracing the words on my chest, I hate you. I hate you. And I was telling her, Mum, this is what's been going on the last few days. This is what I've been doing. I was telling her everything that was happening. And I said, Mum, I've got to be a Christian. I don't know what I don't know what I've got to do, but I've got to be a Christian. Jesus is the only one who can help me, Mum. And she said, well, I don't know what's going on with you, but if you feel like Debbie can help you, then you have to go to Debbie and you have to get help. And suddenly a thought came to me, and I found myself saying to my mom, we've got to burn everything. We've got to burn all of the books, the religious books I've bought, the notepad, and we've got to burn it all. She said, okay, let's go and get it. So we went back to my bedroom and retrieved all of the books and the various spiritual materials that I had bought, the notepads that I had done the trance writing in, the biro pens that I had used to write the messages. We took them all outside and burnt them. Now, I was wondering what was taking Debbie so long. You see, when I had run out of my bedroom, I left my mobile phone on the bed. But when we went to retrieve the items from my room, I picked up the phone and I wondered what was taking her so long. And I saw on the phone that there were numerous text messages, missed calls, and there was a voicemail message from her. And the voicemail message said, Pete, we came to your house in the car. We sat outside, but now we've gone home. I thought, gone home? These guys have left me? The message said, we sat outside in the car, we've waited for you, but now we've gone home. Please come to the house and we'll look after you. And I couldn't believe it. I thought these guys they've abandoned me. They've gone without even coming into the house. What I didn't know at the time, but found out later, was that when they drove to the house, they parked outside and they really felt the Lord impress upon them, sit here and pray for him here. Don't go into the house, because if you go into the house, there'll be danger in there. Because you see, while we were retrieving the books and while we were burning them, the devil was speaking to me and saying, when Debbie comes to your house, I want you to kill her. I want you to pick up a knife and I want you to kill her. And I began to see these images of myself stabbing my friends to death. And so when they did arrive in the car, the Lord told them to wait in the car outside and to just simply pray for me. And so they did, and then they felt peace and drove back home. And so after we continued, we finished burning all of the materials there, I said to my mom, I said, I've got to go to Debbie's house. Now, here's the miraculous thing. I'll repeat it one more time. This is God. This is the Lord. Debbie lived on the other side of town. Had she still lived in that house that night, I would have been finished. But she had moved house before all of these events happened, and she lived 5 minutes walk from my front door to her front door. And so I set off that night. I hugged my mother. I thanked her. I told her I loved her. And I set off that night walking to Debbie's house. The 5-minute walk was a torment, as the voice of the demons in my head said, when you get to Debbie's house, I want you to kill her. I want you to go into the kitchen and pick up the biggest knife you can find, and I want you to kill them and stab them to death. And I said out of my mouth, I'm not going to kill them. They're my friends. I'm not going to kill them. And the voice said, I made you draw on your own face. What makes you think I can't make you pick up a knife and stab your friends to death? And now I was terrified because I thought, I'm going to the one place where I might just be able to get some kind of help, but also I might go right into that house and murder my friends. I was seriously convinced that I might just be about to murder some of the most important people in my life. And when I reached their house and I knocked on the front door, it was Debbie who opened the door, and she welcomed me in, and she put a hand on my shoulder, and it was like a power came out of her and into me and just disarmed any notion of going into the kitchen and picking up a knife. And she just steered me into the living room. Now, I tell you, I had no idea what to expect in the living room that night. I had no idea what I was going to see. I was not a Christian. I was not even a churchgoer, not even a nominal churchgoer. So my only frame of reference for Christianity was what I saw in movies and Hollywood. And so as I walked into Debbie's house that night, I thought there were going to be candles and Virgin Mary statues and things like things I'd never seen before in the house. But I thought, this has got to be what's going on. These guys have been praying for me. There's going to be a Virgin Mary statue and candles and incense. And I walked into the living room, and it was like any other night I had been to their house. They were just sat there watching Christian programs on TV. No one said anything. No one said, how are you? Are you okay? In I walked with the marks all over my face, and no one said anything. They just brought me to one of the armchairs, sat me down in the armchair, and put a blanket over me. And Debbie went and fetched me a drink. And we sat there in silence for the better part of 2 hours, not saying anything, just watching Christian programs on TV. But as time passed, I realized my fear was melting away. The fear was dissolving. The voice of the demons, the devil in my head, growing less and less and less until I couldn't hear those voices at all. It was as if peace had filled up the room, and like feathers were just sort of gently falling down upon us. Peace and calm and contentment and quiet. And after about 2 hours of silence sat there, I realized I wasn't afraid anymore. And Debbie's mum switched off the television. It was now after midnight. And she switched off the television, and Debbie's younger sisters said goodnight, went up to bed. And so now it was just myself, Debbie beside me in one chair, Debbie's mother next to me in the other armchair. And Debbie's mother turned to me and she said, so, Pete, do you think you're ready to receive Jesus as your Lord and Savior? I thought, what a question. That's got to be a trick question. There is no way.